How's it going, everyone? We are coming up on the release of one of the most anticipated games of the year. And frankly, if you went back a couple years ago when I talked about Black Myth Wukong initially being announced, there was a part of me that was incredibly pessimistic. Look, we have had a lot of games that have looked incredible from a visual, a gameplay standpoint, and then ultimately those games are in development for a really long time, they never come out, whatever the deal is. So I didn't want to get overly excited about Black Myth Wukong when it was announced back in 2020, but now, 4 years later, we are just over a week away from the official release of Black Myth Wukong, and I want to give you guys all of the information that is out right now about the game, things you need to know before you drop your $60 on the game, or $70 if you decide to buy the deluxe edition. A couple of housekeeping notes for the game. The game will be released on August the 20th on PlayStation 5 as well as PC. You guys might be wondering, where is the Xbox release? The Xbox release has been delayed to an unknown date. There is no clarification on why the Xbox version has been delayed. The general consensus seems to be it's probably tied towards something with the Xbox Series S. The same thing happened with Baldur's Gate 3 last year, where Microsoft does have a rule that these games need to run on the Xbox Series S with feature parity and, of course, at a performance level that is suitable. Now, they actually forgoed on the feature parity element on the Xbox Series S release of Baldur's Gate 3. That game does not have local co-op play, but, you know, it varies game to game, and unfortunately, it will not be released on Xbox right out the gate. It will be released on PlayStation 5 and PC, however. Also, while the game will be $60, if you are looking to buy the game on PC, I have to give a mention to our good friends at cdkeys.com. Listen, you're already here, you're thinking about buying the game, get the game a little bit cheaper, a Steam copy of the game, it is down to $52.29, you can buy it, you'll get a Steam key right before the game comes out, you'll redeem it, and guess what, you'll be good to go, and you'll have a copy of Black Myth Wukong a little bit cheaper. So while the title says, before you spend $60, yes, that is very much relevant to the console version of the game. I would recommend you to get it on CD Keys if you are looking to buy a PC copy. Also, you can buy the digital deluxe edition on there. It is $61.19, so a little bit cheaper than the $70 that you would pay on Steam. Also, as far as the PC version goes, we'll go over the system requirements at the end of this video because they're a little bit of a doozy, and if you just go on the Steam page, it doesn't give you all the information that you need. So, Black Myth Wukong is obviously rooted in Chinese mythology, calling to the journey to the West. How it exactly will adapt the story and the narrative, that remains to be seen, but it's very much tied to that, and you do play as Wukong with his magical staff. Black Myth Wukong is an action RPG rooted in Chinese mythology. You shall set out as the destined one to venture into the challenges and marvels ahead, to uncover the obscure truth beneath the veil of a glorious legend from the past. The game very much centers around these big behemoth of boss battles, and some have been a little bit concerned about the sections in between these boss battles being a little bit straightforward, being stuff with not a ton of depth to it. It'll be interesting to see how that's translated into the entirety of the game, but it does really seem like a large level of the emphasis has been put on to these high-level, big boss fights that are going to be at the center of the game, and they want these boss fights and these enemies that you're going to encounter to have a little bit of depth, have a little bit of nuance, and have their own motives throughout the game instead of being these nameless faces, and hopefully that translates into the entirety of the game and not just the select few boss battles. Again, rooted in Chinese mythology, the story is based on Journey to the West, one of the 4 great classical novels of Chinese literature. You shall set out as the destined one to venture into the challenges and marvels ahead to uncover obscure truth beneath the veil of a glorious legend from the past. The official page notes some information that let's just run through that. Explore a land of vast wonders. There looks to be a lot of variety in the locales you'll go through with a variety of different bosses in each. Enter a fascinating realm filled with the wonders and discoveries of ancient Chinese mythology. As the destined one, you shall traverse an array of breathtaking and distinctive landscapes from the classic tale, composing of an epic adventure that is seen anew. Confront mighty foes, old and new. One of the major highlights of Journey to the West is its diverse cast of adversaries, each with their unique strengths. As the destined one, you'll encounter powerful foes and worthy rivals throughout your journey. Fearlessly engage them in epic battles where surrender is not an option. While Wukong's staff is obviously going to be at the heart of the combat mechanics, you'll also have the ability to temper your mastery of varied spells, utilizing what's at disposal to Wukong. Spells, transformations, and magic vessels of all manifestations in which some counteract while others amplify have long been iconic combat elements of Chinese mythology. As the Destined One, aside from mastering various staff techniques, you can also freely combine different spells, abilities, weapons, and equipment to find a winning strategy that best suits your combat style. And if we talk about combat, I know this is going to petrify some people. There is a little bit of Souls-like vibe to it. It doesn't have an emphasis on parrying, but dodging is very much at the heart of the gameplay. I know these days, just hearing the word Souls-like either gets you super excited or it pushes people away, or for some of you guys, maybe it's more of a let's see how the entire game turns out. Souls-like at this point has just been stretched so thin across a wide variety of action games that maybe we can just refer to action games as what they are, action games. And Wukong, I do believe, is going to lean into more being an action game, but if we talk about the Souls-like mechanics, some of those elements are present. Discover heartfelt tales behind every facade. Beneath the ferocity and craftiness of your foes lies an engaging tapestry of their origins, personalities, and motivations waiting to be revealed. As the Destined One, you'll uncover the stories behind a variety of characters, delving beyond your battles with them to taste love, hate, greed, and fury once held and still carried within. On top of having a wide variety of magical abilities and staff techniques, you'll also have combat stances. Smash stance will allow for quick, powerful smash attacks, and there's also a pillar stance where Wukong stands on his staff to dodge enemy attacks. As far as difficulty goes, the game is seemingly going to be a little bit more accessible than your typical very challenging Souls-like games. Expect a healthy level of challenge, but there have been comparisons made to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order as far as difficulty goes. That game had a myriad of difficulty options, so it'll be interesting to see how that turns out, and boss battles will offer a healthy level of challenge. The game is said to have around 15 to 20 hours of content as far as playtime, but given everybody is going to be playing games differently and everybody's skill level is different, especially with a game like this, I would take that number with a grain of salt. I would imagine if you're incredibly good at action games, you can probably complete it a little bit quicker. If you're not as good, it might take a little bit longer. 15 hours is a baseline to assess, but then there is going to be other content and optional things, and ultimately could be longer than that. With a 15 to 20 hour number, that should be a baseline to look at. Visuals and performance, there's going to be 2 performance modes. What we know thus far, and this is based on the early builds that have been playable, on PlayStation 5, there's going to be a mode that offers you 1440p and 60 frames per second, a target 60 FPS, and then 4K at 30 FPS. Remains to be seen whether or not there's going to be a lock 60 FPS, because the game from a visual standpoint does look fantastic. Generally, they're pretty good as far as performance modes and visual modes. That performance modes do get to 60 FPS pretty regularly. We'll see how that ultimately turns out. And then, for those of you guys, again, playing the game on PC, I'd be remiss if I don't go over the system requirements, because unfortunately, if you go on the Steam page, you're only seeing the minimum and recommended requirements. Brothers, pack a lunch if you're looking to play this game, because if you are looking to max the game out, this is going to be a doozy. We'll go through everything real quick. There are ray tracing requirements as well, and ray tracing is where we get to the, the NASA level PCs. Minimum, however, at medium at 1080p, you're looking at a GTX 1060 RX 580, 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's nothing big whatsoever. High at 1080p, you're looking at an RTX 2060 or a Radeon RX 5700 XT, 16 gigabytes of RAM once again. Ultra, this is jumping all the way up to very high at 4K. i7 9700, Ryzen 5 5500, RTX 4070 or an RX 7800 XT, 12 gigabytes of VRAM, and 32 gigabytes of RAM. So that's very high settings at 4K. And then we have full ray tracing requirements. If you want to have ray tracing at low, at medium settings at 1080p, Core i5 9400, RTX 3060, and then if you want ray tracing recommended settings, so the interesting thing about this is this differs from the recommended without ray tracing, because recommended without ray tracing is high at 1080p, recommended with ray tracing is ray tracing at medium, and then the settings themselves still at medium. Core i7 9700, Ryzen 5 5500, RTX 4060, and then 16 gigabytes of RAM, and then we have the behemoth of Ultra, but guess what? This isn't even the game maxed out. This is ray tracing requirements, Ultra, high settings at 4K, different than the regular Ultra where it's very high settings, so there is actually a level higher than this, which would be very high at 4K, and then ray tracing at very high as well. i7 9700, Ryzen 5 5500, RTX 4080 Super for that GPU, for the GPU requirement for that, and then 32 gigabytes of system RAM. I doubt most of you guys are trying to go that route, but this is going to be one of the most difficult games ever to run if you are truly looking to max it out. The thing is, nobody's gonna be really looking to truly max it out in terms of having ray tracing. Like, ray tracing murders performance as it is. We all know this, so for most of you guys, if you look at the first 3 tiers of system requirements, that's without ray tracing. The game's fine. It's not going to be that difficult to run, but with ray tracing, pack a lunch, because that's going to be quite difficult. The game will have a base release at $59.99 and then a digital deluxe edition release at $69.99, and it should be noted, the game is a digital-only release, so keep that in mind as well. If you get one of the collector's editions, you get a digital voucher code for the game. The Digital Deluxe Edition will include the full game, the weapon in the bronze cloud staff, the equipment of the folk opera mask, the folk opera leather bracers, the wind chimes, and then the digital soundtrack, the selected digital soundtrack as well. Nothing too crazy, and if you do pre-order either edition of the game, you get the Trailblazer Scarlet Gourd as well, so that'll be just a pre-order bonus. The game is out August the 20th, and again, if you are buying it on PC, a little bit cheaper over at CD Keys, link in the description box below, and if you do buy it, we get a little bit of affiliate kickback, and that is much appreciated. The Black Myth Wukong's release is kicking off a wave of gargantuan game releases on all platforms, and it's an incredibly exciting time. Exciting for the game to finally be coming out. A 4-year turnaround really ain't that crazy, and given that I thought that this game had potential of being one of those vaporware titles, you know, a la Deep Down, a la Lost Soul Aside, it's exciting to see a game like this drop on August the 20th. That's going to do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.